That's where he's most comfortable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like it's in his element. I really enjoyed this book, man. So
I respect the hell of it. Jimmy's Bastard. Check it out.
you're
Okay, now I'm gonna turn it over to me. Because, yo, I got to check out, man. Dude, I am so happy.
It was the X-Pac movie, wasn't it? It was the X-Pac movie.
Close.
I got two
Close. It was the Tupac Shakur movie.
Yes.
Tupac called All Eyes on Me. This is a biodrama, not a direct biopic,
And this is
not a fabrication.
This is obviously Tupac's had a bunch of movies about him, a bunch of documentaries and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But this is the first one. I mean, and Biggie's was bad. I didn't really enjoy it, and so
Biggie's wasn't bad so much as it was mediocre.
Yeah,
which is I think is worse. You know what I mean? It's just like you got these characters that are like just
super lackluster approach to what.
You know what I mean? It just seemed like they didn't really put in the effort to get it right. So this one
they got the voice right though.
They were trying.
It sounded just like Biggie.
He did. That's true. And then this, what's his Shipley is the actor who plays Tupac in this.
Oh, I'm looking him up right now.
He's a doppelganger for Tupac. It looks a lot like him.
This guy is ridiculous. Demetrius Shipp Jr. And this actor is like, I don't know how much of an acting career he will have because he is Tupac.
Right.
Yeah, all I see when I look at his face is Tupac. So any other role he takes, all I will see is Tupac.
Yeah.
You know, he's playing like the
Pope. I think he said that he was
it's Pope Shakur.
But did he? You know, he looks like Tupac. No argument there. But did he capture Tupac? That's the question.
He captured Tupac, but
well, I mean, who can? Who can really capture Tupac?
Exactly.
Tupac was one of those once in a not just a generation, like
lifetime,
just a completely unique
yes, he was.
Character, and that's why he's so fascinating. So anyone to fully embody that, it's a near impossible task. I mean, the class he looked like him. From what I understand too, this actor was working retail, and then all of a sudden plucked. Man, that's going to be Tupac.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Like a story of that dude from Finding Forrester.
Yeah.
He just needed to pay his cell phone bill. He's like, let me try to get an extra role, for this movie. And he's like, yeah.
Well, that's the Hollywood dream,
Sean
isn't it?
Connery.
And it seems like these biopics, especially with rappers, I think have gotten a little bit more prestige around them. I don't know if that's the exact right word, but since Straight Outta Compton, that was a great movie, and it did very well at the box office. So since then, I think like they have this new. Where it was kind of like, the 50 Cent movie was kind of like whatever.
Okay, that's when you have rappers making movies and it's garbage.
Right, but it seems like
you can say that the
Biggie
same
movie was kind of garbage.
Straight Outta Compton, I mean, Cube and
What I mean by rappers making movies is you get bad movies and you cast rappers in there so they'll appeal to the hip hop community and they'll buy this crap.
Like, you ever seen Dr. Dre act? You remember Training Day? That was bad.
No, I got the trump card, the end all be all. The name escapes me, but it's a movie starring Ja Rule.
Oh, is it?
And Praz from the Fugees.
Oh,
yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you want to talk garbage.
Well.
It's like hard. Is it in the movies? Did it get a movie release?
I don't remember. I saw this on like some bootleg in my freshman year of college, man.
Yeah, but before you get into your review, I'm just going to quick ask, who is the best rapper actor?
Rapper actor?
Yeah.
Will Smith.
Childish Gambino.
That's a good one too. I'm gonna go
Danny Glover, isn't it?
No, Most Def is good. Most Def is good. I say Will Smith because like this dude, that's like Oscar.
I guess I don't.
You don't consider him a rapper?
Well, yeah, no, because I knew him as I didn't know him as a rapper.
His was messed up and was wild, man. Because everyone thinks, he's Will Smith. He does the corny song.
I get.
I got a Cuba, cigar, but I don't light it. Like, man, it's corny, but. Before he did the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, before Parents Don't Understand, he was like a pretty vicious battle rapper.
Yeah, West Philadelphia was no joke.
Yeah, but back then, okay, exactly.
I was like, I even born.
I'm not saying it was a long time ago. I'm just saying at one point this dude was like, man.
But you're right. I guess I didn't. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
okay. Look up with a legendary DJ.
All right, so you say Mos Def. You say Donald Glover. I say Will Smith. Johnny, you're awfully silent over there.
Yeah.
Okay, who do you think is the best rapper turned actor?
Oh, Will Smith.
Thank you. Vindication from the guy who's not hip hop.
Hey, he's great, man.
Yeah, whatever you got.
Welcome to Earth. Boom.
All right, no, I did respect that. And Tupac did his share of movies. Okay, just let me go back and review because this is the first movie like featuring Tupac where they've covered, I think, the whole spectrum. Good. I actually like this movie, and it's been getting a lot of flack from critics mostly, and from people that knew Tupac personally, because they wanted to focus. And I get this. I get it. Yeah, they wanted to focus more on the emotional, more on the figure of Tupac they built up in their head.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's a problem with doing movies like this, because you're like, oh, we got to portray him as the hero that we now remember him for. But it's like that wasn't how he was all the time. Years removed after a tragedy, you're looked at a lot differently than you were in the heat of everything. You know what I mean? Not everyone looked at Tupac as this remarkably thoughtful,
which he was,
rose-colored genius. You know what I mean? But it's like at the time, like, he was a scarier dude. He had a big mouth. He was thuggish. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's who he was too.
And the movie covers all that. That's what I really like. I'll give you the general synopsis, but I mean, there's not really much to tell. It's the story of Tupac Shakur, born Lachine Parish Crooks. That I didn't know. For some reason, I never knew his real name
when he was after Revolutionary.
Yep. I think Armenian, Argentinian,
Peruvian. I don't know.
Okay, he was named after a Peruvian revolutionary because his parents were Black Panthers. Yeah. Parents were Black Panthers. Afeni and Mutulu Shakur. Dude, this movie talked about all of it. And my only real beef with the way they presented that stuff is everything was really quick. This movie is a tight 2 hours, and it just goes by because they cover all the important points.
Well, that could be a problem too with movies like this. You're taking such a large thing. Let's remember when Will Smith played Ali.
Yeah,
they only took that one portion of his life because the guy that lived that long life, you can't really cover everything in a biopic unless you do a 5-hour miniseries.
Ali was done well.
It was done real well. I was saying, but they took it because they did one small thing. It was all leading up to this one fight.
Yeah, he knew Malcolm X, and they have Malcolm X in one scene, all of maybe 4 minutes.
Right,
and he's alive, shakes hands, gets dissed, and then he's shot.
Right,
and just like that. This movie suffers from that same problem there. Coming at it from a strictly objective point of view, what I saw was this was the story of Tupac Shakur told from a specific perspective, because the way they justified telling his early life was starting the movie out with his time in jail for the rape conviction.
Yeah.
And he's telling his story to a reporter and talking about where he came from. That's how they cover I was a child. These were my influences. This is when I first got into this. This is when I met so-and-so who launched my career. This is when I hit this first stopgap and why I ended up in jail. Yeah. And it was good. I like the fact that they had Hill Harper playing a very very like Ta-Nehisi Coates type character. He goes in, he's talking to the guy, but he's like, I want to get your actual side of the story, but not like a fluff piece, not like, I'm not here on your jock. I want the real. So I'm going to cover the points that you may not want to talk about too. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Let me see more of this. That's deep. And then it's over. I'm like, whoa.
I mean, that's my biggest thing with Tupac for me personally is obviously, like, I loved his music when I was a kid, but like I was always and still am like blown away when how much perspective he had at such a young age.
Yeah, he was a very intelligent dude.
How thoughtful he was in those interviews. Mostly, a lot of everything that we know about him comes from a few really long interviews that he has done, and he's just how aware of his situation and aware of his influence, aware of like being able to call out what he's, exactly who he is and what he might be remembered for, and just his work ethic. And it was just so much perspective.
This movie addressed that he had fears, he had doubts about himself, and the thing is,
he's very honest.
He was super misunderstood, man. I mean,
but he knew that, and he knew why.
These like arguments with the reporters when you remember that huge one, he came out of the court and he sat there and he just answered every question for everybody, and I'm just like, well, that's the worst that you can do in your position. But it rolled off his tongue, and you could tell the truth was coming out. And did they capture those big pivotal moments?
They did, but again, my same beef. They captured them, but everything went by just too quick. Wow. If this was 3 hours long, it would have been like a perfect movie.
Yeah.
The fact that it was only 2 hours, everything felt scrunched, condensed. His relationship with Biggie, and this is also another thing I like. They had the whole Biggie Tupac beef in the background. Good, because this was just to tell Tupac's story.
That,
yeah, this was not to force that. This was just to tell Tupac's story. So you see that he's hearing who shot you, And he's like, yo, you see talking about what this is my boy. He had a part in this. And then Biggie going to the hospital and his people not letting him see him. Yeah. You know, and the dude that played Biggie in this movie was the same guy who played Biggie in the big movie.
Really?
So yeah,
interesting.
So maybe they're creating
a shared universe. Yeah,
that's the move.
We call reality.
Next, they go and do the Foxy Brown movie.
I want the John Rule story.
That would be a good movie, though.
That would not be a good movie.
We need a Naughty by Nature movie too.
No, at one point they'll have like 20 minutes of just like they'll cut the sound off. I'm sorry.
But there's so much controversy, just not even to elongate it, but there's so much controversy because Funkmaster Flex was on the radio talking a lot of crap about how Tupac was fake and Tupac was this, and Tretch had to like threaten this dude because him and Tretch were like uber close.
Yeah,
and they like went through a lot of stuff together. So
what did Flex say? Because I kept hearing about it. I didn't get
Flex was saying something in the guise of he shouldn't have said something a certain way, or y'all believed him as such, but we knew him and he was a bitch and he wasn't who y'all thought he was and what you built him up to be now. And I'm just like, dude, shut up.
A lot of people have that though too. A lot of people have that too. I mean, that happens all over the place. I remember David Foster Wallace, when he died, the author, Bret Easton Ellis came out like a few years ago saying like, oh my God, he's the biggest hack ever. You know what I mean? Everyone thinks he's this genius.
You would never say that to his face.
But you know what I mean? That's just a long...
Well, here's the thing. There are people that are famous and really popular that I think are kind of hacks. The thing is, that's my personal opinion.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and that's what I've seen.
And you don't have to throw it out there on everybody.
Yeah, you know, I'm not going to disrespect someone after they've died and stuff. Well, you know, they wasn't stuff.
Who can't be around to defend themselves. Yeah, it's kind of a corny move. It's a little bit low too, especially it's like, what do you think people are gonna do? They're probably gonna be upset by that.
Oh, very much.
You're starting to trouble for yourself you don't need.
In this movie, there has been a lot of that same type of backlash. Friends of Tupac, celebrities have come out and said parts of this were disrespectful. This thing never happened. So and so wasn't this like this. Blank wasn't even there.
Right.
And what they're calling out is, I mean, some of them are just plain nitpicks.
Yeah.
There is one legitimate one. Jada Pinkett said that certain scenes didn't really happen, and it's true. The scene with her like confronting Tupac at one of his lowest points and just saying, this is what you become, you're not the same guy I knew, you know, that you need to learn.
That's tough because that affects her, who's still alive, you know what I mean? Having something completely fabricated, be like, okay, what's the point of having this in this movie?
Well, I get why they did it.
But maybe you can use a fake character instead of an actual real one.
That's their mistake. They should have used a fake character. You're absolutely right. And the way they presented it, she didn't look bad, but she's like, this was my personal friend. If you're going to tell his story, I don't want you fabricating
And now I'm immortalized by this thing that never really happened, even though I was his actual friend.
Yeah, and they painted her as a positive figure. I see why they did it. It was a very Lifetime movie moment, you know, kind of like a Hallmark movie of the week type thing. Yeah. To have like, you know, he's lost his way. He's at the depths of like, you know, debauchery and stuff.
Jada Pinkett saves the day.
Yeah. He has this one figure from the past who's like wholesome and, you know, and brings him back to the light, you know?
Yeah.
That's why they had her in some of these scenes, and I'm like, they painted you in a good light, but I get it. Yeah. If they were making like the Adam Willis, you know, a biodrama, and they have me just there like, Adam, you got to stop doing crack. You got to get back on your feet. And I'm like,
sprinkle some crack on it. Sprinkle some crack on it.
And I'm like, nah, that's not BS. Everybody
you don't
knows.
Want no parts of this, Adam. Get out of here.
Want some of that bad. Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to see that about a friend of mine. If the rest was all true, and then they threw in for some reason you had an addiction to kicking puppies.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like that would be the main thing that sticks out.
Like, I do.
Hey man, you're gonna be addicted to some bad stuff.
Yeah, man.
Kicking puppies.
It's a long
real.
I have to ask you about the Tupac uses an iPhone 7.
Yes.
And this.
That was one scene where they took a picture and a chronology
sells it all right now.
Sounds like a chronology.
Yeah. In the original photo, he had like a Nokia or something, and in the movie, they mistakenly gave him an iPhone, not realizing this is like a 1999. Like in 1994.
How do you mess that one up?
1990s. It's the 90s.
Do you think it's gonna add on to like the legend of Tupac? Tupac had an iPhone.
Tupac's still alive, right?
So, yeah. All right. Well, here's one thing that bugs me. This was all in all a decent movie, but these are nitpicks that people are making because it told I thought, respectful story of Tupac, and it showed how he was considered by people a black leader. He wasn't trying to be a black leader. And the whole thing was like, everyone was trying to paint him into this box. His mom wanted him to be a black revolutionary. He's like, I just want to be an artist. And then when he came around to that mindset where it's like, yo, my music is reaching people, let me say some real stuff. People are like, yo, you have to be the face of this revolution. You have to represent. And he's like, yo, I just want to make sure people tell the story and then, you know, go about my business. Yeah. And the label's like, you can't do this. He's like, but this needs to be told. And he's conflicted. He's torn between these forces. that wanted him to be something. And this movie captured that, and I think it's a damn shame and a tragedy that that's being overshadowed. Because granted, yes, it was not the greatest movie. I blame that on the script compressing everything, possibly for time.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't take away from a solid performance by most of these actors. A couple of them were kind of shoddy. And I will say very honestly that around the third act, it stopped being Tupac's movie.
Oh, wow.
It became the Death Row movie. No, even better, it became the Suge Knight featuring Death Row movie.
I'm fascinated by the Suge Knight.
You know, with special guest Tupac Shakur.
Yeah. See, I'm fascinated by Suge Knight. I've always been. I don't know. It's just like this guy.
You would like the dude that played him in this movie.
I do not like.
Was it the same guy from the?
No. I thought it'd be the same guy from Straight Outta Compton.
Really thought
this guy looks even more like Tupac. Like Tupac. This dude looks even more like Suge Knight. His name. I thought I had it here. He's this big Latin dude. He looks like Suave in every other picture, which is messed up. Yeah, he's got like kind eyes, and like friendly smile and stuff.
Sweaters he used to wear and stuff like that. Always had the cigar, and he was just the biggest dude. And of course, you know, he hung Vanilla Ice over a balcony by his feet.
Hey, that's unconfirmed, man. Until we can prove.
Suge Knight to 50%. Queen took the other 60%. I owe money when that plays, man.
Well, anyways, they covered a lot of points about his relationship with Bad Boy. His relationship with Death Row. Yeah, no, that was a slip of the tongue. His relationship with Death Row was covered. His relationship with his initial record label, with his mother, played by Walking Dead veteran Denai Guerrera, nice. Also known as Michonne, and yeah, she was like going for the Oscar. But it was like she was going. It was like in a very Oprah-like performance. If y'all
yeah. So you get color purple in it.
I applaud. Yeah, it was like Tupac. You need to understand.
Yeah, a little
Everyone
bit.
needs to get this. Yeah, there was those.
You're overselling it a little bit. Yeah.
Well, and then there was also in Tupac. You need to tell me if you want macaroni and cheese for dinner.
Do you want hot dogs cut up in your macaroni, you motherfucker?
Everything was real dramatic, so you gotta suspend that sometimes.
Oh, that's funny.
What it comes down to, I think I'm running a little long here, is this was a good movie with good performances mixed in with mediocre performances, but at the end, it told a good story. My only beef is that in the interest of, I guess, forwarding the action and the plot line, they fabricated some scenes that obviously didn't exist, which is okay from a storytelling point of view. If this wasn't about a real person, the fact that it is about a real person with real people affected that are still alive and can protest, that was an error on there. That kind of brings the rating down. I still say see it. If you're a hardcore Tupac fan, you may need to see it with a grain of salt. The most important thing I can also emphasize there is they tell his story. It's legitimate. It's heartfelt. At the end when he got shot, I actually teared up a bit. Wow. That was played out. It was played out a little heavy, but it worked. And they
spoiler alert, Tupac gets shot, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If anyone's not caught up on that,
then he died and Rose.
And wasn't he supposed to meet Shaq that night too, or was that Biggie?
No, he just saw Mike Tyson fight. He was supposed to go back to his girl. He was dating Quincy Jones' daughter.
Right. I think it was Biggie. He was supposed to meet up with Shaq too before he got. Yeah,
came out in the velour suits. Got done.
Back.
And they use the music. That's the main thing that should be emphasized. They use the music, not to the degree that Straight Outta Compton did, because I think that ruined it for everybody. Straight Outta Compton did such a good job that everything is held up against that pedestal now. But they did a decent job. They did his music with Digital Underground and his music with Death Row and his independent music, so it's in there.
I like the Digital Underground years.
Dude, the dude that played Shock G looked just like him. It was ridiculous.
The nose and everything?
Was he wearing the nose piece? The nose was fake.
Was he wearing the nose piece?
He played Humpty, man.
Did he?
The dude that played Shock G looked just like him. The dude that played Tupac looked just like him. The dude that played Biggie looked a lot like him. Not exactly spot on, but pretty freaking close. Yeah. The dude that played Suge Knight looked just like him. They had these on point.
They have Diddy
and then they had... No.
All right.
But then they had the dude that looked like Snoop Dogg. He sounded just like Snoop Dogg. Like, that was a perfect impression. He looked... Nothing like it. Seriously.
Why did they just get Snoop Dogg?
Probably too expensive. Yeah, this movie had budget issues.
I mean, it's supposed to be years ago too.
Young Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg. Original recipe Snoop Dogg.
Original recipe. I like him with the hat and the hoodie.
All Eyes on Me. Highly recommended you all check it out.
All right.
So, Johnny, you got to play. Dude, I'm hating.
Yeah.
Ultra